This episode of Versus was filmed prior to the events of the 2022 Oscar ceremony. With that knowledge in hand, enjoy Versus. Hello everyone and welcome back to Versus, the show that today pits two of the hottest hunks in the history of Hollywood against each other because we have Tom Cruise taking on Will Smith. They won't be here in studio, obviously. Not because they didn't want to be, but you gotta have priorities in life. And Tom is probably busy flying a jet, or dangling on the side of a cliff, or stealing his daddy's Porsche for an evening with Rebecca DeMornay. Will Smith also cannot be here because he'd rather save the world from aliens, save Miami from bad guys, or save football players from concussions. But the good news is, I'm here.
They don't let us out much.
I'm your host, Mark Ellis, and what I may lack in fame, I more than make up for with my ability to take two respectable resumes and make them duke it out for all the glory. Duke was Maverick's dad's name in Top Gun. I also pepper in useless movie trivia.
Why should I know these things?
Here's how we'll determine a winner. Round 1, box office. Round 2, Tomatometer / audience score. Round 3, memorable moments. Round 4, versatility. And then we'll do a wild card round to settle the score once and for all. I'm sorry, did I properly introduce Tom and Will to y'all? You see, usually on this show, I'll say, in this corner it's RoboCop, and in the other corner it's Sonic the Hedgehog. But today, do I really need to? It's Tom Cruise and it's Will Smith. One is known as Mr. 4th of July, and the other was born on the 4th of July.
What are you talking about?
Okay, well, Tom was in a movie called that, but did you know Cruise's actual birthday is July 3rd?
That's classified.
I told you I got dumb trivia for days. This is going to be one of the most hotly debated outcomes in the history of the world and this show. But fear not, I, Mark Ellis, who is considered handsome when I'm not standing next to a Tom or a Will.
I'm sorry, are you being funny?
But for now, it's just Will and Tom, and there can be only one of them. Let's get it on.
We're gonna have a good time.
Round 1, box office. To say Will Smith and Tom Cruise do pretty well at the box office is like saying Starbucks is pretty good at selling coffee.
I'm the best.
The entire movie theater industry has thrived in large part due to the continued attractions provided by Will and Tom. It is not a reach to say that without Smith and Cruise, movie theaters would not exist as we know them today. Or at the very least, we'd have to make like 4 Transformers movies a year to make up for their absence, and nobody wants that. What we did and still do crave is America's human Autobot, Tom Cruise, and it's been that way since the early 1980s. After appearing in modest hits like Taps and The Outsiders, Cruise shifted into third gear with 1983's Risky Business, a coming-of-age comedy that grossed $63 million worldwide. Then that gear shift turned into a jet engine that sounded a lot like Kenny Loggins when Top Gun buzzed our collective tower in May of 1986. The film would go on to amass $357 million around the globe, even though the other side denies the incident completely. Sorry, the movie is like one long memorable quote, so you're going to be hearing a lot of those.
This is what I call a target-rich environment.
Will Smith isn't exactly flying rubber dog poop out of Hong Kong either, as the Fresh Prince struck it big on the silver screen right out of the gate. He got big laughs and stole scenes in the 1993 Whoopi Goldberg-Ted Danson comedy Made in America, which did over $100 million in cash register jingles. 2 years later, Will Smith launched a movie theater sprint that turned into a run, and is now just a marathon that keeps churning out boffo box office. Bad Boys drew $141 million worldwide in 1995, and Smith would go on to see 16 of his next 18 starring roles gross at least $100 million, and at most $817 million, courtesy of Independence Day.
Ah! That's right! That's right!
That stood as Will's standard setter until 2019, when a kid rubbed a lamp, out came Aladdin, and cleaned up to the tune of over $1 billion worldwide. So Tom Cruise has been running in movies for over 40 years, and his multiplex receipts have kept the pace. Beginning with 1992's A Few Good Men and its $236 million haul,
I'm pacing myself.
Cruise would see 14 of his next 15 movies taking at least $100 million.
One more, I get a set of steak knives.
And the only outlier was Magnolia, a film in which he did earn an Oscar nomination. Fun fact, Will Smith's jog also took a break from the triple million figures for Ali when he secured an Oscar nomination. So look, we're either raking it in at the theaters or we're getting a sweet Oscars swag bag.
Without me, you'd be a tall white man with a microphone in his mouth.
Cruise hasn't soared to the billion-dollar heights that Smith has seen, but Tom's Mission Impossible franchise continually churns out gigantic hits. He's been over the $600 million line 3 times, all thanks to his choosing to accept a mission, and the all-time high bar is currently set with Fallout, which is the 5th of those impossibles, I think? I don't know, they all run together, and they're all great.
No!
Both stars can do it all. They can lead an independent film to award show glory, star in a standalone hit, or create a franchise capable of sending stock markets to the moon. But while Tom Cruise has made more total coin in his career, at a current score of $10.74 billion to Will Smith's $9.59 billion, it is the Prince who takes the throne when it comes to per-movie average. Will Smith vehicles earn an average of $309 million per outing. The average Tom Cruise movie enjoys a $250 million take. This is too much money. Why am I talking about this? We should have hired one of those rich movie guys, like a Michael Douglas or a Richard Gere, to talk about the numbers in this round.
Would you actually stop talking long enough for me to answer?
Me? I'm just hoping I recoup that $80 I sunk into crypto. Thanks, Matt Damon.
Positive thinking.
It's Will Smith that, by the law of averages, gets a narrow victory over Tom Cruise in round 1, but much like Vincent in Collateral, we're going to be here a while, and the night's just getting warmed up.
What's going with my work?
Round 2, Tomatometer / audience score. Sure, any good-looking stud can trip into a box office smash or two, but it takes more than star power to continue to put butts in seats for a combined 70 years. You gotta consistently crank out quality product. And that's exactly what Will and Tom have done in their time. Think of all the scripts that they've been offered, all the meetings that they've taken, all the lunches that they've lunched.
Not to change the subject or anything, but when was the last time you had a CAT scan?
When they finally decide on their next project, it's not just movie theater owners that get excited, it's the critics too.
We'll see about that.
Both William and Tomas have made some stellar cinema that's rated near the top of the Tomatometer. I'm not talking about you, Wild Wild West. We'll get to you in a moment. Take a number, have a seat.
I stand before you as a man realizing that I have done something wrong.
I was thinking more about Men in Black at 92% or King Richard at 90%.
I'm in the champion raising business.
And one of Smith's earliest roles was in 6 Degrees of Separation, and that's at 88%, whereas the very recent Bad Boys for Life is also fresh at 76%. But there are some duds marring this glowing report card, and yes, Wild Wild West, now you may step into my office. It's at 17%. That's the bad news. The good news, at least for that movie, is that there's 2 flicks below it on Will Smith's Tomatometer. Do you care to guess?
No comment.
Collateral Beauty's at 14%. I barely have heard of it. After Earth is the low bar at 11%. I think I liked it.
I'm quietly judging you.
I saw it once, haven't thought about it since, but come on. It's gotta be better than WWW.
Yeah, I blew that one.
And now we pivot to Tom Cruise. And remember those Mission Impossible popcorn chompers? Well, the critics love them some buttery treats too. And it's Fallout at 97% that leads both gentlemen at the top. Rogue Nation is at 94% and Ghost Protocol's at 93%, but the guy's not a one-trick pony. He's got Risky Business at 92%, Minority Report at 90%, and they sandwich 91%'s Edge of Tomorrow. Unfortunately for that attempted launch of a dark universe, there was no tomorrow. Tom's The Mummy is at 16%, and his all-time lowest film is 7%.
Oh, Christ.
It gives me absolutely no pleasure to reveal that that fine piece of 7% cinema is Cocktail. Take the check and get out of my daughter's life.
I'm doing the best I can, okay?
Here's a hot take. I kind of side with Elizabeth Shue's father in that movie. Don't throw your life away on some gin jockey you met in the Bahamas.
No offense taken, in case you were wondering.
Wait a decade and just do the same thing with Nicolas Cage in Las Vegas. All right, so the critics have had their say. Now let's tune into the audience score frequency. Curiously, Tom and Will flip-flop at the top on this metric, as it's King Richard at 98% that owns the #1 spot. Bad Boys for Life, Aladdin, and Spies in Disguise all top Tom Cruise's best effort with the crowd, which is Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, whatever it's called, at 90%. That's tied with Rain Man, the movie that reminded us all how Dustin Hoffman really feels about Kmart.
Kmart sucks.
A Few Good Men is at 89%, Interview with the Vampire is 86%, and Top Gun is at 83%, which exacts some measure of revenge because on the Tomatometer, the greatest naval aviation / volleyball film of all time is at the Spaceballs number of 59%. It's so close to fresh.
That 1% sucks, doesn't it?
If Goose pulled through in that movie, I'm pretty sure we're looking at what? 93, 94, 95% fresh?
You're a lot brighter than you look.
Will Smith's lowest mark with the customers is Wild Wild West at 28%. Tom Cruise's is The Mummy at 32%, but Cruise has a few more flicks weighing him down here. At 42% is Mission Impossible 2, which, despite Metallica rocking the soundtrack, is the only MI film to disappear from freshness into rotten ground. That movie is tied with Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, and that contributes to Tom's 68% audience score average, which is bested by Will Smith's, Bill and Ted approved, 69% average.
Excellent!
But it's Tom Cruise who gets a definitive win in the veggie patch, as his per film Tomatometer average is 64% fresh, besting Will Smith's rotten, but still respectable, 52%. And that will prove to be the difference in this round. Cruise had all the right moves, which is at 63%, causing Will Smith to momentarily lose focus at 56%. And if you can't tell, I really like these guys in their movies.
Together with the token might get me on a subway.
Round 3, memorable moments. It's not a question of if Will Smith and Tom Cruise have created noteworthy sequences in their careers, it's just a matter of what was your first time seeing these dudes on the big screen and saying, wow, that's a great moment. It ain't hyperbolic to proclaim that these two A-listers may have created the most memorable scenes of any two careers in Tinseltown history. For me, I'm a man of some decades myself, so Tom Cruise came on my radar first with the smash hit Top Gun.
You've lost that love and feeling.
I was just a wee lad, so I missed it in theaters, but my VHS tape filled with high-flying fighter jet action and Goose keeping up foreign relations,
You know, the finger.
got worn out in my household rather fast. Thank you, Showtime Free Preview Weekend.
You have wisdom beyond your years.
For Will Smith, I was coming into my own as a high school freshman when Bad Boys hit, and I was thrilled to see the star of the best sitcom of the 1990s in an R-rated action film. I'm of course talking about Martin Lawrence. Go back and watch the sitcom Martin, it was legendary.
Thoughtful.
Will Smith being a badass in that film took me by a mild surprise, but I totally bought into him as a cool cop with a wild streak. Which begs the question, who runs better? Is it Cruise at sprint speed or Smith in Michael Bay's slow-mo? Meanwhile, movies like King Richard and Rain Man don't need to rely on loads of shootouts and special effects to create lifelong memories. Just examine Will Smith's compassionate yet strict father figure to the Williams sisters, and his verbal jousting with John Bernthal was also a highlight. Tom Cruise was still hot off of Top Gun in 1988, but Charlie Babbitt in Rain Man elevated his thespian stature to another level, as he shows the frustration of dealing with his special needs brother. At the same time, we see his emotionally stifled elation at the mere discovery that he has a sibling. We'd see more evidence of this acting ability in court when Cruise went toe-to-toe with Kevin Bacon, head-to-head with Kiefer Sutherland, and quote-for-quote with Jack Nicholson.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Both these fellows can handle kick-ass action scenes, and we'll get to some of those electrifying moments in a bit, but let's not forget their sheer ability to nail a dramatic take. Will Smith's Chris Gardner finally getting a job in The Pursuit of Happiness, or Tom Cruise bawling his eyes out as Frank Mackey in Magnolia. Comedy has also been a genre of note for both. The expectation subverting Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder is still some of the best dancing you'll see in movie history, and Will Smith lights up the screen as a confident player who's befuddled by Eva Mendes in Hitch. Oscar glory had eluded Smith until winning for King Richard, but his take on Ali was a transcendent effort simply because we knew Muhammad Ali and Will Smith so well. Tom Cruise similarly disappeared into the role of Vietnam vet Ron Kovic, holding in a rage that would only occasionally come out through eyes, speech, or body language. All right, enough of this real stuff. Let's save the world a few dozen times.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
If Top Gun and Independence Day are just one long, quotable, endlessly entertaining, memorable moment, then we could also look to the Bad Boys and Mission Impossible franchises for scintillating sequences. The Klan infiltration that opens Bad Boys 2 is a highlight, as is anytime Mike and Marcus flummox Joey Pants to the point where he doesn't know what to do with himself or a basketball anymore. It's the ultimate loose cannons costing the cities millions of dollars of damage buddy cop ride, and we are all in. Why? Because it's Will and Martin. And briefly, Dan Marino.
Let me know how it rides.
Oh, he gonna test drive the out this.
Mission Impossible always does just that, as Tom Cruise finds a way to top himself and his stunts with each subsequent entry, sometimes even at the cost of his own ribcage. Tom, we love you, we beg you, you don't have to jump over buildings. I promise we'll still see the movie. But if you want to dangle on the side of maybe the world's tallest structure, okay, I'll let you do that. Ghost Protocol was still my favorite Mission Impossible movie for that sequence, but I also give props to Tom for when he held on to dear life as a plane was taking off, or a bridge explosion rocked him into several cars of Part 3, or the cliffhanger opening of MI2.
Things got a little out of hand.
But you know what still gets me the most? The end fight of Mission Impossible 2, when Dougray Scott gets this close to stabbing Ethan Hunt in the eye. That's a real knife, kids. Don't try it at home. It was attached to a string measured to stop less than a centimeter away from movie star Tom Cruise's eye. Maybe he booked that role in Valkyrie just in case it went wrong? Will Smith has personality to burn, and it shows in the Men in Black films. He's funny, slick, intelligent, and good-looking, all while saving the planet.
I make this look good.
Tom Cruise doesn't have the luck that Will had when he was in War of the Worlds, as most of his humans are turned into literal spaghetti, but then we tennis it back to Will for the ultimate "we saved the world" as billions of people died movie, Independence Day. His lines like, "I have got to get me one of these!" and "Welcome to Earth" are iconic. Hell, he even has his own show named after that last one, and the sheer amount of extraterrestrial damage inflicted on our globe's most precious structures still holds up. However, the win in this round goes to the sports agent that completed us, the pool hustler of a new generation, and the NASCAR hero who could do anything in a race car, including turning a rental car into a race car and then sprinting on the beach against his arch nemesis. Days of Thunder's awesome.
You sure make a lot of mistakes for a so-called educated man.
Round 4, versatility. There may not be anything TC Legend can't do in a race car, but how's he fare inside of a blockbuster video? Now, usually this is the part of the show where I have to remind you youngsters what a blockbuster was. But today, I'm going to use my soapbox for a different purpose. The nickname TC Legend is just the worst. It's stupid, and it's Tom Cruise, and I get it. He was in a movie called Legend, but Mr. 4th of July, that's what I call a nickname Volume 1. Van Damme is the muscles from Brussels, but we can't get a solid nickname for Tom Cruise? Fine, I'm calling him Maverick. I will not say TC Legend again. But Will Smith was great in I Am Legend, which could be in the horror section of a blockbuster if they still existed.
Hey, who's the girl? Never mind.
There's some sci-fi and action in that movie, but I consider it a horror classic. And that's what this round is all about. How many tools y'all got in those Swiss Army knives you call a career? Tom and Will can do it all, but who's better at the totality of that all? Any of that make sense? It's too late. Your host, ME Legend, is gonna roll with it.
You really are not that guy.
Despite the solid interview with the vampire, Will gets the edge in scary movies with that I Am Legend deal, although you could consider War of the Worlds to be horrific. You know what, I'm gonna put that in the sci-fi section, where Tom also has Edge of Tomorrow to his credit and Oblivion to his detriment. I know some of y'all liked it. I kind of fell asleep. Will Smith might take this section of Hollywood video as well, but that's only because of the massive hit that was ID4. Oh no, wait, he's also got the comedic science fiction entries Men in Black, and even though I hated the third movie,
it's a gigantic pain in the ass, but it has its moments.
It wasn't his fault. It was that annoying alien Griff, played by the otherwise wonderful Michael Stuhlbarg. Stuhlbarg I love. Griff, I'll never forgive.
Anything's possible.
Will Smith also has another sci-fi movie I liked, I, Robot, and I'm the guy that cared for After Earth, so what the hell do I know?
Let's just let me make the big decisions, okay?
Let's go to action. I am well-versed in that, and even without Tom Cruise's very hard mission movies, he makes a great case here. Valkyrie, The Last Samurai, Collateral, the first Jack Reacher, kinda. He's got some big action hits. Will Smith can counter, though, with the Bad Boys movies, Enemy of the State, Hancock, and Suicide Squad, in which he was great. But I'm going to give Tom the W in the action section, thanks to those other 6, I think soon to be 7, Mission Impossibles or the really hard stunts that he has to pull off. Let's just go back to remember Mission Impossible 1. Remember how it all started? They killed Emilio Estevez in an elevator shaft. Dramas might go to Cruise as well, though Smith has a strong case here because this is where all of his Oscar glory has come from. Ali and The Pursuit of Happiness got him nominations, King Richard scored the win, and Concussion had a strong case, although his Dr. Bennett Omalu came up just short in a crowded field. But Tom Cruise has his nominations in this section as well. We got Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire, and Magnolia all making for solid dramatic fare. But whereas Will Smith front-loads this genre with Academy Awards gold, Tom Cruise goes deep with A Few Good Men, Taps, Vanilla Sky, The Color of Money, American Made, and Rain Man. There's no need to consult Judge Watner for this ruling. Cruise wins the drama category.
I'm happy to entertain you.
But here comes Will Smith and comedy. The guy is legit hilarious, and he probably would have been a hugely successful stand-up comic if that's what he wanted to do. I'll give major points to his hit sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a mythology that still has fresh legs all these years later.
By George, I think he's got it.
And then he can go the rom-com route with Hitch, the family route with Aladdin, or the unintentional comedy route of Wild Wild West. Look, we expect Will to deliver the yucks. But with Tom Cruise, it's more funny because he plays so against type as the portly slob Les Grossman, or even when he has a tinier cameo in films like Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Yeah, baby.
And that's really what this round ultimately comes down to. Tom Cruise is best when he's serious and focused, and that allows him to surprise us when he shows the softer side in films like Jerry Maguire or even Magnolia. Will Smith naturally gives us a good time regardless of what he's doing, and we don't really care about the genre. Look, I saw I Am Legend, and I wanted to live in a zombie apocalypse with my dog after seeing Will and his German Shepherd. Then the second half of that movie happened, and I reconsidered my take. But if we're talking versatility, Will Smith has to get the nod because he can also score his own movies. Men in Black, Wild Wild West, a multi-platinum music career outside of the scope of cinema prove he can do anything he puts his mind to. So while I do give Tom Cruise a heaping dose of musical credit for his role as Stacey Jackson Rock of Ages, Tom's musical talent is the goose to Will Smith's Maverick. It can't be too soon. That happened in 1986. Will gets the win here, and we're tied 2-2.
You can clap now.
And now it's time for the wild card round. Run, Forrest, run. All due respect to Mr. Gump and his exploits on the Alabama Crimson Tide gridiron, but not even Forrest's run back and forth across America could equal the total amount of steps that Tom Cruise and Will Smith have gotten in on the big screen. So after all the box office, positive reviews, and iconic sequences that have every nook and cranny of your local video store covered, the winner of this match will be determined by who the best runner in the history of movies is. It's either Tom or Will.
I can hold my own.
So my first blush image of Will Smith running is his treadmill setup with his best pal in I Am Legend. You see, outside there's walkers, so maybe getting in shape inside the friendly confines of your apartment is the safe play. For Cruise, it's the breakneck speed of his sprints in the Mission Impossible films that are the opening salvo. Dude runs everywhere, and unlike certain other actors, looking at you, Harrison, thinking about you, Liam, we really do believe Tom is hauling ass like Deion Sanders. However, the running from Will Smith in Bad Boys is poetry in motion. Now sure, Michael Bay loves his slow-mo as much as anyone not named John Woo, but I don't care about the billowing trench coats or the slow head turns. Give me Will under the bridging his way on the big screen, running away from or towards danger as I shovel popcorn into my face, and I'm in hog heaven. Will gets additional points for Enemy of the State, a movie that sees him running for the bulk of the 2-hour runtime, and The Pursuit of Happiness, in which there's a clip called Running. If you're rooting for Tom Cruise today, you're probably shouting from your treadmill, "Come on! This is the guy that's known for running at the cinema." To which I'd reply, "You're right. When he's not singing Free Fallin' in a car, he ain't just jogging. He's going all out. He can do a dead sprint like in Mission Impossible 3, or pretty much all the other ones. He can also do confused running, like in Vanilla Sky, when he's the only one in Times Square, meaning maybe him and Will Smith and the German Shepherd can hang out. Anyway, he also outran aliens in War of the Worlds, and not the slow ones. Michael Myers can outrun E.T., but to sprint away from athletic, otherworldly beings is a feat fit for a king. The best of Will Smith working out might be in Ali, and if you've ever met a boxer, you know they spend tons of time getting that road work in. Training for a match against a George Foreman or a Joe Frazier is intense, but so is whatever crazy assignment Ethan Hunt said yes to. He's running at bad guys, he's running away from his own agencies, or up the side of a building. There's no type of running that Tom Cruise can't do. He can even do the extremely difficult, should be an Olympic event, suit run, like in The Firm when he is running full tilt while in a sport coat, tie, and slacks. It's a tough call here, and Will Smith puts up a great fight against the most famous sprinter in movie history. So we go to Twitter to settle this score. No, I was too lazy to do a poll, but I did go to Tom Cruise's official Twitter account, which states that he's been running in movies since 1981. So he even has a sense of humor about it, and he produced the film Without Limits about the legendary distance runner Steve Prefontaine. Never heard of him? Look the dude up. I call him SP Legend. Tom Cruise gets the win in the wild card round and thus takes the match.
In 10,000 years, I've never been that embarrassed.
And here's why I love doing this show. Much like a great basketball bracket tournament, anything can happen on any given day. Will Smith defeated Denzel Washington last season on this show. Tom Cruise just beat Will Smith. So does that mean Tom could take out Denzel? Not so fast. Denzel doesn't need to run in movies. Did y'all see The Equalizer? He just sets a stopwatch. 30 seconds later, everyone in the room is dead from a broken neck. It's fun stuff. As always, this is all just my opinion, and think of this vid as a conversation starter. Who would you take? Which movie star's next project do you most anticipate?
Everybody knows that I am the champ.
Let me know with your vote on social media at Mark Ellis Live, and be sure to stay tuned right here at Rotten Tomatoes for all the latest in movies, TV, and some fun debates therein. Thanks for watching Versus. I'm Mark Ellis, and I definitely can't handle the truth. But I'll tell it. I will tell the truth.